Do, 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 do. So glad when Brandon doesn't mute his mic. Hello, everybody. Welcome to SketchCraft Live. I'm Rob Duenas, graphic artist Esquire. And if you're joining in for the very first time, you should typically know that we rant about art, movie, and comic book related news stuff chosen by either myself or you, the audience, or Brandon or Ashley, who are both joining me today. Ashley, Wes, say hello.
Hey.
Hey, Ashley's here. And Brandon, are you there? I
Hooray.
know Brandon's there. I can hear you. Okay, so we got an action-packed, fun-filled episode of Sketchcraft for you. Should be a good time. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Ashley, you had a good question about RGB printing and stuff. Why don't you start there?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I was just asking, or basically, I wanted to do a comparison between RGB printing and CMYK printing, and using preset proofs with the setting up your prints for setting up your art for prints. So I haven't had a lot of experience with RGB printing, but I have used it before, and I like it. I like it better than CMYK, but I still don't get what the main difference is. So I was wondering if you could explain that.
Sure. If people don't know, I do have a couple tip videos in the art tip folder about setting up your files for printing. Let me explain to you what you're talking about, what you brought up. So, you're talking about when a printer asks you to send RGB files, right?
Hmm.
Right, versus CMYK files. Now, let me
Right.
explain to you why that is. It still prints CMYK. It's still
Okay.
it's a toner of cyan, it's a toner of magenta, it's a toner of yellow, and it's a toner of black. There's no such thing as RGB mixing together in the real world and
Right.
getting
Well,
that's it.
I thought that because there's I would think about that. I was like, there you can't do that. There's no way, you can do that. So, anyways, that was my question. Why do they
But
call it that?
but let me explain to you. I had someone else bring this up to me recently. He was
Okay.
using Brandon's friend Ryan happened to be using an oversized printer. This is one of those large format printers that spool out giant prints. And he wanted to know why whenever he's printing CMYK files, they go really dark. And I tried to explain to him, I used to work at Kinko's. And when I say I worked at Kinko's, like I took a job at Kinko's. Like I took a really low paying job at Kinko's so that I could waste a lot of Kinko's money figuring out how to print my art. like after about 3 or 4 times to the print shop to try to get something done, I was like, fuck proofs, fuck that guy at the counter. I got to get a job at a printer. And I stayed there for 3 years. I blew a lot of Kinko's money. All right, just figuring out how to print all my stuff on regular digital offset printing, oversized printing, all this stuff. So when I say I worked at Kinko's, I wasn't the jerkwee who pretends to know what he was doing. I was like one of the only people. Um, and the reason why sometimes RGB files are asked for is because the the printers have these sometimes they have these rip machines or they have these computers that interpret profiles, right? And they can print dark when they're interpreting CMYK. Don't ask me why. Right? I don't know why they do. They just do. So a lot of times now, printers will ask you for, oh, send me RGB's fine, because their spooler is going to convert it better. But the problem is, if you send an RGB file, it's still going to print within the limitations of CMYK. Um, so what I do is I set my files up for print according to CMYK, and if they want an RGB file, I then just convert it back to RGB and send it to them. See what I mean? So all my files are in Gamut. Now, what I'd like to do really quickly is just cut to my screen here. Let's go to desktop. So this right here, actually you can't see this, but if you wait 30 seconds on the stream, you might be able to see it, is the Casey Jones flats that Brandon did. Sorry, I had family in town this weekend. And these are in RGB, basically super neon green selection flats. If I hit Control Y using my CMYK settings, it will preview in CMYK. You see it goes from neon green to super dark olive green. The these teals go into like a dark olive kind of green. These purples turn blue. This is actually what it will print like right here. So even though I'm in RGB, I'm previewing in CMYK. I would convert this to CMYK, then back to RGB if the printer asks for an RGB file. But the reason why they're asking for that again is because the actual printer they're using, sometimes there's a separate desktop that kind of has to spool the files through. It's called a rip or whatever. Like they'll be like, oh, send it to the ripper. Sometimes it's just internally in the printer, and it's these various little. It's almost like a codec for video, but it's these little presets that Adobe will send or the Canon will make or Epson will make. Another thing you'll see sometimes if you go to the internet and you're looking at previews for comic books and the covers look incredibly saturated, like the teals look way saturated, that's because they put up a CMYK JPEG of an RGB file. So, and the internet will interpret CMYK in a very saturated. It converts CMYK back to RGB so you can see it. Something that natively is built into every browser. No one will tell you this, and so your files look super saturated when you try and post them on the internet. So if you take a CMYK file, try to put the CMYK file up on your DeviantArt page or your Facebook or your website, it's going to look super saturated, and that's because the browser is then converting that CMYK back to RGB. I had Brandon's friend have all 5 of these problems simultaneously. I had no idea what was going on. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it helps. And I know what you're saying about, I mean, it kind of helps. I still have trouble grasping it just because, I guess, because I think until I really start having to, mess with my prints and stuff, I don't think I'll fully understand it.
What I think you need
But,
to what I think is important to understand is that colors that you get when they're on your monitor are never going to print. I don't care
right,
what profile they're using. Like
right.
that game Transistor we were talking about on Game Cave, no, sorry, Game Cave, on the video game podcast a couple
Mhm.
times. They love to use those teals, those blues. That will never print that way. In order to get those colors, you'd have to have that teal, and then you have to put like hits of white in there to get that. Those colors will
Yeah.
fall right out of gamut, regardless of whether it's CMYK or RGB. It's just it won't happen.
Right. Well, and two, like I've also heard like when you're messing with different papers, like if you're like I'm gonna do like an archival matte or I'm gonna do metallic, like sometimes the whites are not actually the same white you're seeing on your screen. So if you're doing multiple prints on multiple papers, you have to like make multiple adjustments too. Is that correct?
Yeah, the biggest difference I get is, remember, white is going to be relative to wherever it's being displayed, Ashley. I wouldn't stress so much about it, all right?
Okay.
Because it can look perfectly white to you, then I put it up on my wall in my room and I have colored lights in my room and it's irrelevant. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the white is based on whatever color. It's just it's reflecting. It's a balanced light. It's going to reflect back anything in the room. So if you
Hmm.
put your print near the sun when it's sunny, it's going to look super bright. At nighttime, it's going to look blue. Even if the paper has a yellow tint to it, it doesn't matter. It might be a little
Yeah.
greener, but the biggest difference in terms of print adjustment between paper type, I would say, would be canvas to paper. Canvas to paper is a big deal because canvas absorbs a lot of ink.
Mm-hmm.
So they can end up real darker. I actually, when I do canvas prints, I have a very separate printing setup for that. And I'll actually blow the colors out a little bit. They'll look a little fucked up, but they're gonna print
Hmm.
great. And I just learned how to do that printing canvas. So if you ever get to that,
Right.
like I have done some videos on that, but if you ever go that way, I can give you some.
Right.
Or right on here, I can show you how to do it. But I did have this problem, folks. This right here is a setup. I'm not done with this. This is just basic gradient maps. Needs a ton of lighting and stuff. Same Casey Jones pick. But if I hit Control Y and go to RGB, just want to show people this. See, this turns really saturated back here. We go back to CMYK, back to RGB, back, and you can see the shadows are all reddish here. Let me zoom in. These shadows are super red, folks. And if I hit Control Y, oh boom! Whoa, where the shadows are in there. Um, that how to set that up is already in the art tips folder. But what people should also remember too is everyone believes like the thing you always hear about in these books or videos on how to print things is DPI, right? Use 300 DPI, use 400 DPI, whatever. That's great, dots per inch. But what they don't tell you is the ink coverage, the amount of ink the printer is going to spew out on that paper. And if you don't limit it to 280, the dot gain is usually what it's called. If you don't limit your dot gain to 280, between 280 300 preferably, but 280 to 300 is where you want to be. One, you can break the printer, and two, your prints are going to look dark because it's adding more ink, and that actually can make your prints buckle. You get those prints back and they're wavy, half the time it's because you just had too much ink. And I learned like there's no way around learning that if you're actually going to print books. Like prints they do one off on like a Canon or an iGen or something like that. But if you start doing books, those are run on big offset printers, and the papers are calibrated. That paper and those ink flows are calibrated, and a printer, a guy who looks and checks your stuff, will tell you your ink coverage is too heavy and kick that back to you, and they're not going to teach you how to fix it. So the CMYK profile that I use is set to limiting that docking to 280, and it's over here in color settings, and you can see this thing called swap coded. This is not the default. These are my own custom. You go to custom CMYK, and Photoshop defaults to GCR. You set it to UCR, and if I go to GCR, you can see these ramps where the black is super high and the color bars are low. And if we go here, it clamps that. And if you kind of see back here, if I switch back, you can see it flipped. It's darker, now it's brighter because it clamps the black down and limits the total ink limit to 280. Makes a big difference. So even though that's once I hit CMYK, like if I took this whole thing, I even got an action set up here. Thanks, Brandon. I got a whole action set up here.
For what?
Nothing. So I got a whole action set up here for CMYK, right? See, it's all merged, and then I can go right back here to for print, which turns it right back to sorry, RGB, no, for print. We can go right back, just click image mode, RGB. It doesn't change, right? So it's important that you still set your files up for CMYK and then just convert back to RGB. If you just send those RGB files, you never know what you're going to get, and it's going to usually be messed up.
I know I have done that. I've already set the dot gain to 280 and done the UCR and everything. So did take care of that a while ago.
And be sure to double check all the time because Photoshop loves to reset that.
Yeah, I do still check every now and then.
Like I always like to have a test file like, oh look, yeah, if you do the Control Y and nothing changes, either you're really good or it went back to the web swap.
I was gonna also say, going back to the paper thing, I just wanted to make a point before I forgot it. I've noticed that matte paper eats up, like it soaks in the ink more than like satin or like metallic paper does. That's what I've noticed. But I don't. Do you have the same opinion, or do you?
Well, it depends on like I usually use 100 to 110 pound, so I don't really notice a difference,
Yeah, I don't. Well, see, on the one I use, it just says the thickness, which is I guess 9.5 milliliters to 11 milliliters.
Yeah, you want to look at the paper.
Millimeters.
Usually there's 98 pound, or there'll be a GSM like 180 or 160.
Yeah, sorry. And I was trying to say millimeters, not milliliters. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I just
liter
don't
and
sound,
a quart.
I don't want to sound stupid.
Nah, that's all right. Brandon, do you have any questions about this, or?
No, I think a lot of people who just listen to that long section of it will probably have to go back and re-listen a couple times because you're thorough, but for a lot of people it's hard for them to probably follow along while doing it. So I mean, you guys covered a lot of the steps, and I know I get lost in a lot of that stuff, and that's why my prints before I started doing stuff with you looked very, I want to say retro, very MS Paint like. There was a lot of messed up colors and
neon greens, and your stuff would be colored like the flats, right? Where it was all the super neon green. I do want to make certain folks that just because you set something to CMYK, it's not going to pick colors for you. It's not going to magically give you the accurate, skin tones and the reds and the blues. Case in point here, these are selection flats, but then these would be the base flats. And if I wanted to do comic book interior style coloring, I would use these as a basis for the colors for Casey Jones, but then use these to select the areas as I'm airbrushing in shade. Concurrently, I use these colors, these base flats, as a tone to build the gradient maps. The reason being, if I go and set this to saturation, the values will be more accurate. I want to have a red sweater, I don't want to have brown, And when I turn those to black and white, those values are accurate. If I turn those off, see how the values are all inverted? They can't just be whatever under there. For this, the value for red is not the same as that bright yellow. See the values change, big time. So even though I'm using this digital painted look here, it's based on those values being accurate. So I still do those base flats, and if I turn the gradient maps off, matter of fact, all the rendering, you can see right under here is this base of Casey Jones. And then we just paint right on top, turn the desat layer on. So
Are you working, so when you do your gradient maps, are you working in RGB mode or grayscale mode? Because you're going back between color and grayscale, so I'm kind of like confused as to what mode you're working in.
I paint initially in grayscale.
Okay.
Right? So I do all I do a color roughy first, so I know what color scheme I'm going for.
Right.
I have this kind of basic idea open. And then while I'm setting up my basic shading, I'll take that roughy, fill a layer with black, and turn it to saturation so I can see my basic lighting, right? In black and white. I do it in black and white, right? When I'm all
Okay.
done, I merge it together because these gradient maps eat up a lot of memory. And
Right.
then using my selections, I'll select each area and then build the gradient map for each little piece. The case in point, let's turn this off. Tint, Casey, the BG first. I get the background first, and if I disable this layer mask, this whole background, you see it's tinted. And it's between two separate, there's a red background color and a purple background. I blend between the two and then knock him out of that. Then I do the gradient maps for him. So these are his base colors, unchanged. No affected by lighting. And then I'll duplicate the background, invert it, and very carefully paint in the tinting. Because he's going to be affected by moonlight, by city glow, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I need to adjust it, in this case I did, I took the flats, put it right on top, added overlay 25% just to give it a little punch. It's a little bit punch of that color in there because it got a little washed out. And then I would paint additional details on top of that.
Okay, and that's pretty much what I do. I'm sure you do things differently than me, but okay. I just want to make sure I'm like not going
No,
in a
you're not
bad
going.
direction.
I would just, you just got to be careful you don't overdo it. It just takes,
Yeah,
it takes a lot of practice. Don't feel
it
like,
does.
I know Rob got it. He did it in the night. Oh God, no.
No, yeah, I know. It took a long time, but
You can
you
over
know,
tint, over shade your
I
characters.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I still do. Sometimes I go a little crazy on the rim lighting, but I don't know. I'd rather go crazy than not enough, and then figure it out later. So
Yeah, well, again, it just comes down to preference. And
it,
you can always do two versions and see how people react.
yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty, Brandon, your turn.
Hooray! My turn. And I want to thank you again for that awesome profile picture up.
Oh, that's Brandon's favorite picture.
I
Oh.
I hate it. I have it has the most sassiest certain woman look you will ever see. It's like, hey girl, I see you looking at me. It's I hate it so much. You have other pictures of me that you could use, and I
Yes.
know you use that one on purpose, waiting for me to just say something.
Yeah, I even directed you to the stream so you'd see.
I know. Oh, I know. And I love it. I love it so much. Oh, good. Nothing like a good 4 or 5-year-old picture. So, with that being said, so everyone can see me in person, we got a Comic-Con coming up, the Amazing Arizona Comic-Con, which we love the Amazing Comic-Cons, and soon we'll have the actual promoter and the guy who runs the con on a future show. So, with that being said, what would you say are the essential survival guide to a Comic-Con convention? What are some tips?
As a fan or as an artist?
Let's go both ways. Let's start with a fan. Let's start with a fan. What to expect? What do you, as a fan, if you were a fan coming to this con, Rob, what would you look forward to if you're not sitting there at the table slaving away?
Well, the amazing cons are pretty easy to get into. So as long as you're there 30 minutes early, you're gonna be able to get in. Not that they're not packed. It's just that how do I say this? They have the right ratio of people to professionals that are there. I've found. It's not like probably because the amazing cons promote artists more than movies and stuff. Even though they got their John Barrowmans and whatever show up.
Hmm.
Uh, so what I would say is don't buy anything the first day. And if you're only going one day, don't buy anything until your last 3 hours. Because if you walk in, you start buying things, see everything before you start buying stuff. As a kid, I'd be like, I'm taking 20 bucks to con, and I'd get conned out of my money in like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Like you
you'd be
just see
done after the first table.
the most amazing art, ever. So, also, don't think that you saw everything the first time around. Go to panels. If you get a chance, if you're going to be more than one day, go to a panel. If you're not going to be there more than one day, stay away from panels. Be honest, you're not going to see anything in there or hear anything that you won't hear again at another con at another time. There's never been that time I was with unless it's like a reveal for like concept art for a movie. Nowadays, you're just going to see the show on the internet anyway. Because I was thinking back when I was a kid, oh yeah, I go to that panel, I see some concept art for Batman and Robin. I'm never going to have that experience, but now it'll be on the internet that night. So, don't go to the panels unless you're going to be there multiple days and you got the time to kill. Also, don't eat convention food. Please, don't eat convention food. Don't eat convention food. I cannot.
You'll get sick?
You will
Or is
not
it
only
just
get, well, no, you will have to use the convention bathroom.
because of the
Don't
mustard?
use convention bathroom.
It's basically convention. He's saying basically it's like if you go to a ballpark and just a generic ballpark or a high school football game and you get something from their grill.
I
Basically
think,
just the roller. It's like you don't go to the worst Circle K or Quick Stop, whatever you have out there, and get a hot dog when it's been sitting there for like 4 hours.
Imagine if you eat gassy food and then you're at a table waiting to get a signature and you rip one. I've seen it happen. It's always some poor kid. It's always some poor kid, he's got that big gulp right there with him. You're like, when I went to con, I learned really quick as a kid. I brought, when I was a kid, I brought like
very highbrow,
bar,
by the way.
like,
very highbrow.
well, I'm being honest. Like you've been, look, man, look, you got to survive. It's con
There
survival.
are a lot of smells at Comic-Con.
Yeah, so you don't want to be
yeah.
don't add to the smells. Bring hand sanitizer lotion. Keep deodorant on you. I used to eat power bars. I eat, when I feel like something out of a bar, I'd eat clip art. Something that's going to keep you from going to the bathroom as minimal as possible. Use the bathroom at Starbucks before you walk in, then go in, and you'll be good, until you need something to drink. Go back to Starbucks. Just con bathrooms are horrible, and there's just a bad time. When you're getting signatures, you're talking to artists, always look at people's badges. I cannot stress this enough. Just because you see someone's art, you might think they're a man or a woman who drew it. You don't know. It could be a fucking alien. I can't tell you how many times I've had friends go, "Oh, you walk right up to a girl and be like, "Oh, well, this artist, when will he be here?" And she's like, "That's me." Because
Foot in mouth.
right, like Ashley, what if what if your name was Ash West? If you went by, what if it just said A. West or Gang Feather? People don't assume a girl drew something because, the way it works.
Yeah.
Like T. Nielsen, that's a painter. She paints her stuff. T. Nielsen is Therese. My buddy Joe's a big fan of magic. First time I took him to con, walked right up to Therese, and I looked right at her badge, saw Therese, and he goes, "Hey, when's he gonna be there?" T. Nielsen. And she's like, "That's me, stupid." I was like, I walked right around. Walk away. Even if you see something called Rob Liefeld, might be Robin Liefeld. You never know, So always look at the badges, know who you're talking to. So you also don't ask, Jim Lee, like, do you know where artists are or a Batman artist? You don't want to ask Jim Lee about Batman artists if you happen to bump into him. The last thing I would say is, if you're gonna bring something to sign, don't be that fucking asshole who's got 10 fucking things.
No, not just 10. Don't be that asshole who brings 20 to 40 things and takes a picture of every signature he takes as he takes it.
Well, you know why? Because
he's
selling them and he wants proof that they got signed.
Right.
That's all those guys are.
If you're one of those guys, ask him, say, "Hey, is there a time I can come back, pay you a little extra, and I'll step to the side and let you sign these?" You don't hold up the line.
So those are my fan tips. Live your stuff to 3. I always limited myself to 1 because I'm a respectful dude. I'll see this cat again next year, and if I don't, then the one thing I got signed is going to be worth more than next year anyway because they died. Brandon, Ashley, do you have any tips for fans before I get into artists like tips?
Don't argue with artists or people at the table. You can have an opinion and you could talk to them about it, but don't try to argue with a creator or an artist. You just come off as an ass. I mean, there's so many times where, you're just talking to a fan, and let's say if I miss, say, a video game character, and they will just jump my ass. Like, they'll just be like, no, in this game, on this system, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Or if I'm right about something, I just say, oh, no, it's this character. They will get into a whole long diatribe and argue with me. I mean, okay, I get it. Don't be argumentative. Be well spoken. Talk to the
Never
person.
make fun of Greg Capullo's height. That's mean.
Oh, he will. He will. He does not like that
no,
shit.
no. Ashley, you have any advice for fans? Have you been to a con?
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay, I just asked.
I
It was empty. I didn't hear anything.
I usually don't go. I'm in the artist alley for like 10 minutes because I don't like being around a lot of people. It makes me really so I usually just go hang out in the oh my gosh, what are they called? The rooms.
Bathrooms.
No, not the bathroom.
The panel.
The panels, yeah, and I just sit there for hours and sketch and listen and have fun. That's me. But I still try to go look at the artist alley like at least once, but sometimes it's overwhelming.
To be fair, folks, when I grew up going to con, it was like 20,000 people. Like Comic-Con now here's 120,000 people. I won't go near downtown during con. Now, attending as an artist, I got a few things I'd like to put out there. One, don't spend any more money than you have to. If you think you need 300 prints, bring 30. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that person that says, oh, do you have One Punch Man? And you're like, no, I don't got One Punch Man. Oh, I would have got something if you had it. Like, I'm telling you, if you said, yeah, I got One Punch Man, they would just look at it and go, okay, cool. And do you have this? Until they find some shit that, you don't have it and they're not going to buy anything.
I hate that. Okay, I'm sorry, but I do hate it when people are like that. That's rude. You don't say that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so, and I can't train people, so,
Yeah.
but don't, as an artist, start to feel like, I need 7,000 prints, like, that's never, you can never bring enough, anyhow, and you gotta move this shit everywhere. And
It's a better feeling to sell out all 30 than it is to be left with 270.
If you're going there to pay your rent, that's another fucking problem. Con is not there for you to pay your rent, artists. Okay, like I know I have a few art friends. They make the rounds. I go to this con, I go to that con. That's how I make a living. Okay, I understand that. But even then, that means you're playing averages. Sometimes you're gonna do $500. Sometimes you're gonna do 2,000. That doesn't mean you sit down there and scream across the fucking aisle, "Buy my prints!" You like art? Come here. That bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say real quick before I forget. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But I used to. Me and my sister used to print T-shirts, so I have been to I've been a vendor a few times at places, so I do get some of these things that people do, like the yelling, the heckling people when they walk by. I've seen that before, and the sad thing is, I've seen it work, and I'm like, really? Like, I don't know. I just don't appreciate it when people do that to people.
Hey, I've seen NRA-proof fraud works, right? You can defraud the whole country. Doesn't mean that I'm about to jump into that pool, right? Like, we're talking about basic ethics. So, I will say the last 30 minutes of con, it's a free-for-all. You can yell all you want. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to yell, buy my prints the last 30 minutes, I get it, because if, everyone's doing deals or something, if you do that sort of thing. I don't. The last 30 minutes of con, I just try to relax, I'm like, whatever, I don't give a shit. So, but that would be my advice. The other thing I would say too is, and there's no way I can ever get anyone to, it's the new kids I'm basically reaching out to. Please stop with the 300-foot wall of prints. Please, people. I really, this is convention people need to rein this shit in. It's not selling.
If you need 18 pieces of PVC to set up your wall, you need an exhibitor's booth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you need more than 2 spaces, you need an exhibitor's booth. Artist Alley to me, it's another thing. I can't wait to have Jimmy on there, because maybe he can get his and he could talk some sense into me if I'm totally wrong on this. But I can just say, Artist Alley when I was a kid used to be about discovering artists, and now it's this giant swap meet. And it's like everything looks the same, and it's 300-foot wall of prints, and they put prints on reverse side. Never, ever have your prints showing the other way too. That's so rude, folks. Like, don't
Yeah.
do it. Don't do it. That some other artist paid for that space, you know. Like, but those are those people out there. And by the way, I've outsold those people doing nothing but just putting down my envelope, my little portfolio. Brandon, you've seen it, right? There
Oh
was.
yeah.
Remember that year I was at this con? I was with the publisher, Big Dog, and I was outselling Big Dog, and all I had was just this little thing, no prints behind me, just that little thing you see back there.
Yeah.
You know, so one good piece of art can draw people in. You know, you got everything up there. You go, well, how are they gonna know I have this stuff? Well, they're gonna discover you. Well, I need to make instead of 1,000, I gotta make like fucking $10,000 worth. I mean, well, fuck you. I mean, okay, look, fine. I don't know, folks. You know, like it's not helping the con experience. It really isn't, and no one really has a chance to shine when everyone's overwhelmed. You know what? You know what I feel happens? People who go to cons repeatedly, they start to look down because they don't want to see the large wall of everything. You know, they're kind of looking down. They're kind of just trying to get through because they know where their artist is. So believe me when I say, put your like in any portfolio, put your best work forward. Show the stuff that represents you. Let the people come to the table and discover you. And if you need more space, great, but just buy an exhibitor's booth. You want to make $10,000? Great, buy an exhibitor's booth. It's not that much more money than Artist Alley, quite frankly. Quite frankly, it's a $250 for Artist Alley, $600 for artists, for an exhibitor booth. Then get an exhibitor booth. You're going to get a nice corner space. People are going to see you when you walk right in. I actually, folks, used to get myself out of Artist Alley and go right into exhibitor space. Right, Brandon?
Yeah, we shared. We
And
shared
we're
one at
going back to
FaceCon.
that because I don't like being in Artist Alley as an artist. Like I don't like artists. You know, like I quite frankly I don't like a lot of them. You
Okay,
know,
so you don't like it either. Good, I'm
no, I
not
don't
alone.
like them, and I don't like sitting next to a guy who's selling knockoffs of my own art. You know,
Yeah.
like, which is happening
I
now.
think
And
I think
I,
the list of things that you do like, Rob, would be shorter than things you don't like.
and can I add? I don't like it when people come up and go, where's the bathroom? And I'm like, I.
If
It's
they
right over
listened,
there.
Ashley, if they just listened to my tips at the beginning of this video, they would never have to ask where the bathroom is because they wouldn't have to go. They would
Exactly.
know to go back to Starbucks and then use
How
that one
many
there.
how many times have you been asked that? Has that happened to you?
Oh, I like it when that's happened to me. Yeah, the one that kills me, and I feel so bad for my ethnic friends. I was sitting next to LaShawn Thomas of 1 year for Play. We had him at the booth. He's good friends with Dave Halverson, and so last year we were there as Play at Comic Con here in San Diego. And it seemed because he's a black artist, it seemed that every other black fan had to ask him where the NAACP booth was. And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't, I felt bad because not 10 minutes wouldn't go by before someone asked him where the NAACP booth was. And he just kept saying, I'm not really here. I'm an artist.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? And I just felt so bad for him. Like, I can't tell you where I don't know, I guess where the Army recruiting booth is. I was in, I served, I can't tell you. I don't know. Like, you need to ask, don't ask someone of color where you think their political or other black artists might be. They're not in a group. You know what I mean? They're not in a little club where they all know where each other is. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
hella rude.
Rob,
Uh,
it's time.
What?
It's time for the topic.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready for this topic?
Well, hold on. We gotta make sure because these will all blend in together, right? So
Okay.
just to wrap it up, and then last thing, folks, give yourself time as an artist. Give yourself like I want to go to con, so you're gonna go con every year. Give yourself a year to experiment, to try, bring a very limited amount of things. Find what you enjoy doing at con. If you enjoy doing convention sketches, just do sketches. If you enjoy just selling sketchbooks, maybe with a sketch here and there, just do sketchbooks. And by the way, if that means you only bring 20 sketchbooks, that's all you bring. You don't have to bring 200. Chances are you're not gonna sell them. You know, be be smart. And give yourself the time. I started going to cons as an artist in 2004, and in 10 years, I still don't have the perfect formula down. But Brandon, every year it gets a little simpler, right?
Oh yeah.
It's easier. So in this year, we're really gonna
No
make
more,
it.
no more getting trapped on the escalator where my feet are about to get cut off.
No, no.
Oh, last year I think I remember you had didn't your prints get printed on like regular paper? Like
They printed it on the wrong paper 2 days before con.
that was I saw that was scary.
It was wrapping paper. Like you touch it, you
Uh,
just touch it and it dents. I'm like, what?
but
And they were like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And so I had to have a friend of mine go onto their Facebook page and start a rant on their Facebook page before they finally would take my calls. It's an experience I've never had with this printer.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Nothing, but that just sounds. I don't understand that. Okay, go ahead.
I know.
No, I mean I
So
don't understand. You know what I mean. I don't understand
if the
what they
stuff is
treat it that way.
if the stuff is printed on the raw materials, get the right materials. You may not get your money back. You'll get store credit. Either way. So we'll be doing a whole convention. I'm getting more convention questions as the season starts to roll in. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll cover more as we go along, folks. And I'll probably do just a convention only, like the top 10 things. Which, Brad, I think we did once before, right?
I believe so.
Old podcast. We're putting all the old podcasts up too, folks. So I'll be able to reference you there. So I want to move into the big topic, and I'm gonna need a little bit of time to talk about this. And I'm glad I gave it a week or two because this is gonna get me into trouble. But fuck it. So as we all know, sadly, some famous people have already passed away since Christmas, right? The guy from Motorhead, right? Lenny, not a big Motorhead guy. David Bowie, my personal favorite, Alan Rickman, a big Rickman guy,
Mm-hmm.
passed away. And when people pass away, people like to pay tribute, right? I like to draw a little piece of something. Oh, I miss this person. Like if Jim Henson died today and I have my art skills, I'd be like, Jim Henson, I missed you. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. I get it. However, I have noticed, because well, unfortunately, we've had some famous people die in the last years, and we've had tragedies like the Japan tsunami, the Paris attacks. I've noticed when tragedy strikes, there is a group of artists, some of my friends included, that seem to just try to capitalize on that Twitter trending. Like, oh, David Bowie's in the fucking Twitter trend, so now I'm gonna draw some David Bowie art so I can get out there and get a bunch of likes. And I've had a few admit it to me. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. You gotta get seen, Rob. And I'm like, vultures, right? Like, is that not like? Do you really need to be that well seen? Like, is it that fucking important
I
that?
think
No.
I think one of the preface to your argument is, I think it's also when the people aren't really fans beforehand. So like, if I honestly can't name. I think Ziggy Stardust is the only Dave Bowie song I can name. Creative person. I know little about him as far as who he was and what he did. I mean, I know obviously who Dave Bowie is, but that's like if the day after he died, post R.I.P. David Bowie. I drew a sketch of him. His music inspires me so much, or oh man, I can't wait to watch Harry Potter for Rickman. He was the best in that, but not knowing anything else he's ever been in. That's the part that I always thought was a
Or
little
because you
odd.
vaguely remember something they were in once, you're like, oh, I was a fan of that, so that gets me in the club. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know if someone's doing it? Because as the artist, you know why you're doing it. You're drawing this stuff right now only because you think you're gonna get seen or you're gonna get a lot of foot traffic. I don't know what for. Likes on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter don't pay your fucking rent. Like they
Yeah.
don't. I mean, I learned this really well when I first started doing SketchCraft full time. Uh, my business partner at the time was like, "Oh, we can have some cosplay girls come to the booth," and I'm like, "No, that's not my thing, man." He's like, "Well, I mean, what? They're, no, they have 150,000 per, and they're totally cool. They'll cosplay like Bombcat," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know, man." And then come to find out to talk to them, they're nice people. But they're like, man, how do you make money? They're like, we have 250,000 likes, but no one buys anything. They didn't sell one thing that year. Like except maybe a print at the con where they were signing because some guy wants to talk to him for 20 minutes, and hit on him. So it's like, they're like, how do you get fans? And I'm like, talent? Like, I mean, like I'm drawing stuff. I mean, I don't know. You can't do things because you think you're going to get famous. It's a bad place to start, folks. If that's the case, just fucking do porn. Work for Kim Kardashian. You know what I mean? I don't know. Be a rock star. Play in a band. You're going to get a lot more fame. You know what I mean? If be the Alan Rickman tribute band. Rickman, right? Rickman. Rickman. I mean, like.
So does it bug you when people make the art for just the attention, or the attention when in face of tragedy?
It's about taking the attention and making it about themselves.
About themselves.
About
Okay.
themselves. This is just typical ego shit,
Right.
and they think they found some quick little win, and it's just I mean, look, I've had 3 family members die in the last 3 years every Christmas. You know what I mean? And I can only imagine, what if like my uncle started posting pictures of my mom every day, because you know what I mean, and tagging it, hashtag sister dead. I don't know, you know what I mean, just so he could get that sister dead group, to like his Facebook page and invite him to a bunch of talkings, and like, you know what I mean? Like, is that really why you're doing it, or because you miss your sister? Like, we know there's a difference, and there's a big
Right.
difference, and it's hard to have that discussion through Twitter or anything else, because basically you're just opening yourself up to be clobbered by the weight of people who don't get, inflection and tone. But I have
Right.
friends that like, it was like the second I hear something, I go, okay, I know 3 or 4 people. Let's just wait for it. Boom, there it is, there it is, there it is. And you're like, well, what about the truth? So then I'll just randomly go to DeviantArt and just go launch, the minute someone dies, just go trending now. David Bowie, 3,000 pics. Were there that many fans? Really? You're
Right.
that big? Of you all watched? I mean, half these people weren't born when Labyrinth came out. Well, I watched it on DVD. Where's your other Labyrinth art?
I've never seen it.
Because fact is, right now, everyone knows I love the Turtles, right? That's one of
Mm-hmm.
the big things that made me want to be an artist. Kevin Eastman, if God, please don't. But when Kevin Eastman, if he passed away, I'm still around, I could see myself doing a tribute piece, because I have a ton of Turtle shit already. I was already a
Right.
fan, right? I'm gonna miss this dude. I appreciate what the guy did. It meant a lot to me. We'll do a whole cast. I met the guy many times. Been very complimentary to me. But you know what I mean? If I got nothing in there and I'm just chasing trends, I come from T-shirts, right? Um, Professionally, where it's these days. In 10 years, when I started in T-shirts, yeah, you'd have something kind of trending, and someone would tell you this is kind of big, we should go in this direction. But mostly it was based on just making good art and good designs. Nowadays, salespeople walk in, here's every post on every blog, here's Pinterest, here's what's trending on Twitter, and you got to do what trends do. You got to, immediately react to trends. And I would find it funny. I'm like, how are you supposed to react to a trend now when 2 days from now no one's going to care? A T-shirt's going to take at least 30 to 60 days to get into production, even if they bought it today, you know? And so if someone likes your David Bowie art, right, because you jumped on that David Bowie bandwagon, how many more David Bowie pieces are you going to do? What if a real David Bowie fan likes your stuff? They like you. They're never going to want to get anything else from you. You're never going to do it again. You just got that like. Doesn't mean anything. A year later, you see your likes go down 2, 3, 4 people. Those are those people too. Like, it's just, do you need it? Is it that fucking necessary? Do we need to promote ourselves so fucking much that when you're not really a fan of something, you just jump on the bandwagon because you want to, get noticed? Because when
Yeah.
I look at that, I go back to like things I've seen make $1 million on Kickstarter aren't actually like, remember that stick figure comic strip, Order of the Stick or whatever, made $1 million on Kickstarter. It's
Hmm.
literally just stick figures, folks. You know why? Because that dude built a fan base through actually being creative and doing what they were passionate about, and they struck it with finding the right audience. Find your right audience. But if you're gonna try to chase trends, then as far as that's the definition of sellout. It's not selling things. Selling things is what artists do unless you're just doing it as a hobby. Sellout is when you only do things for the fame and the glory, right? Because you think that's what's going to bring you. What it really does is make you look cheap and uneventful and hollow and soulless. And I'm honestly, I unfollow and unfriend people who do it because I just got no more room for it in my life. Yeah, and you have anything? Am I told? Like, if I'm off base,
Would you? I could play devil's advocate if you
okay,
like, and
sure,
turn it towards you.
all right,
So let's say, okay, Live Die Repeat came out about a year ago or so, and you really liked the movie. You liked the look of the movie. You liked it, and you also, you wanted them to know that. So you made an art piece. Okay. Would you say part of it would also you wanted them to notice it and get more exposure through that
No,
because
I
you
was a fan of something, so I drew something because I was a fan of it. The problem is, what if I've never have anything on there? That's the last movie Tom Cruise does. It tanks, but then he died. All of a sudden, I come up with that piece.
okay? So basically, tragedy taggers.
Yeah, and you'll see this too. Like when it's like, and it's this mentality I've seen has caught on with like when the Paris attacks happened. People would
Hmm.
go about, I just feel real sorry for people and no, 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 no. And everyone on Facebook and Twitter at the time was like, make sure you're not making this shit about you.
Hmm.
You know, like
Right.
you understand, and it's hard, folks. I'm not a fucking lawyer. I'm not gonna go and screen cap every post on Twitter and be like, see, that's where they said it. That's where they said it. That's where they said it. But just check yourself as an artist. You know, like I can't stop people from commenting on things, but as an artist, I would recommend that if you really want to be truthful to yourself and the things that you're producing, produce things out of passion, not reaction. You know, not just trying to go and cash in on the latest craze. Like, oh, I hear that they're doing another Transformers movie. Now I'm going to go and make how do I say this? Like, you know, a matter of fact, check that. After the Transformers movie comes out, now you're like, here's my Transformers piece. I mean, I guess I don't know. Like, it's a little different when it's just a fan of something, but a death is different. You know what I mean? Like, I get okay, you want to post a Batman piece when a Batman movie comes out. I don't care about that. But if when Heath Ledger died, really there were that many Heath Ledger fans, man? Because I remember on the fucking internet, everyone shit a brick when they found out Heath Ledger was gonna be the Joker. No one fucking that Brokeback Mountain guy, the Knight's Tale. I'm like, I like Knight's Tale, man. I mean, it's a
Right.
corny movie, but that was actually fun. You know? Don't you know? People die. Pay your respects. You don't have to sit here and cash in
What
on
do
their
you
shit.
What do you think the over under is on the number of artists who will have a print of a celebrity who's
Don't
died
know,
within
don't
the
care.
last 6 months
Don't know, don't care. Don't know,
at the
don't care
con?
because
At the
I
con.
don't know, don't care, Brandon. Because I don't look at other artist stuff. I'm at con to work. Do you see me walking around going, oh wow, it's not that I'm not a fan. It's because I bought a table, I sit my ass, I don't leave until it's time to go. You know, and that's God's honest truth, Brandon. Right? I sit down,
Right.
I'm there all day, and then when it's time to go, I walk right out. So I don't care what other artists do. If every artist in Artist Alley had Darkwing Duck, I wouldn't start producing Darkwing Duck prints. I don't give a shit. You know,
I love
produce what
Darkwing
you
Duck.
produce what you're a fan of. You know, and if you're
Just so everybody knows, I love Darkwing Duck right now. Before they relaunch the Disney XD version, I'm a big fan of Darkwing.
it's called fan art. Otherwise, let's just call it trend art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just draw for trends, man. I got them likes.
Trendy
Yeah.
tragedies.
Feed me your likes. Feed me your
I
likes.
I'm with you, Rob. I almost despise that kind of stuff when I see it. I'm just like ugh, I
Well,
don't know.
put it in context of a family member because you know something.
Yeah.
David Bowie is a family member. He has children. He has a wife. He has uncles. He has aunts. He has friends that he used to walk down the street and buy candy with in the morning. You know, I because I've lost my mother, my father, and my brother-in-law in the last 3 years. You really start to think about those things. Like you know, every day in the mornings, at some point in their life they went to school and went to see a movie on the weekend or something if they lived in a first world country, like they weren't dodging landmines in Syria or something. So like, like be respectful of those people, and if you want to pay tribute, pay tribute. You can do it in a lot of ways, And if you really felt that like I love Jim Henson, I wish when I could do Henson piece whenever I want it. If he had died today with my levels, I would do a piece, because I'd be like, man, Jim Henson really affected my life. That being said, like if I would probably wait just because he died. I can give this a few months. You know what I mean? Like I'll just plan a piece out and then be really, you don't have to get it that fucking week that because it's trending on Twitter. It just,
Yeah.
like it.
By the way, I just would like to plug that Kevin Smith that has a really sweet tribute to Alan Rickman on Smodcast. So, because he actually knew him from Dogma and
Do,
stuff.
do
Like
you do you know how happy I was when he put that Rickman in Dogma? Because I found
yeah,
Alan Rickman through Die Hard. And then I was like, this fucking. I went to see Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in the theaters only because Alan Rickman was in. I was like, the Die Hard guy's in this movie. I gotta go see it. And the movie sucks, but Rickman's awesome. I only sat through those Harry Potter films because I wanted to see him hit the redhead with the book. Like that's my favorite part. Just swap, just bow, bow, bow. Like that's my favorite part. So, Galaxy Quest.
yes.
And I was
That was the first movie I think I really ever saw him in was Galaxy Quest. Like
and when
to
I
be
first
honest.
when I first was reading the Heir to the Empire books, the Timothy Zahn original, people thought they were going to be episode 7, 8, 9 for Star Wars. And there's a character called Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's like the Sherlock Holmes of the Imperial troopers. He's a really smart guy, figures shit out. I always pictured him as Alan Rickman. I was like, oh man, Alan Rickman as an Imperial officer, would be Alan Rickman. But you're right. Kevin Smith did a very, very, very sweet, touching eulogy for Rickman, and got to put him up with no crotch on the big screen. I mean, how many people get to do that, right? He was a eunuch on the big
Yeah, he
You
screen.
called him.
with
He called him
the
a. Oh, go ahead.
no, go, sorry, I talk a
I
lot.
was just saying, he called him a Ken doll. That's what he referred to him as. Go
I
ahead.
was get yeah, I was gonna say with the way Rob is going with my damn pictures, he's gonna find even more embarrassing shit to put up. So eventually, I'm afraid of what picture he'll have of me in 10 years from now.
I've already saved them all, so if you took them down today, I got them. They're all down
I
there.
think the picture of me was from like 3 years ago, so it's not current.
yeah, yeah, Rob.
That
Some current.
picture is current. You see Brandon, that's what he looks like.
That is not
I
exactly
pretty
what I
much
look like.
I pretty much look the same too. I haven't changed, so just it's
I
fine.
my double chin is not as bulgy. It's gone down a little.
You know, Brandon is a prima donna. I do one
Oh,
photo
I'm
of
a
Brandon,
diva. Oh,
and he
I'm a
calls
diva.
right up my photo, and I'm like, oh, you
Oh, no, no.
mother.
I
Like,
called him up. These are my exact words. I called you up and I said, "You are the worst fucking friend." I was like, "You suck. You suck so much." And he's just like, "What the fuck did I do?" I'm just like, "You fucking know. You know what you did." And he's like, "I have no idea." I'm like, "That picture of me?" He's like, "What picture?" I'm like, "The one from like 5 years ago, where I'm just choking myself with my fat neck." God.
Uh,
Oh.
I am a prima donna too. That's why I don't take pictures really. So
Just.
anymore. I
yes,
gotta.
but people like to see photos of who's talking, right?
And yes, they do. But
So.
after I turned 21, I was like, I don't care anymore. So for 22,
You're
gotta.
right. Oh, what was I thinking? When I was 21, I was like, I wish they could put video on the internet. That would be amazing. Like,
That was when you were 21. That was right when the internet came out, right?
no, I had the internet when I was in high school, man. Matter of fact, I was on Prodigy and CompuServe back in the early 90s and then AOL. I do like to say I streamed Nintendo 64 videos from the 1995 Shoshankai show, Space World show in Japan. I was showing everyone a 3D Mario a year and a half before. I was the only guy on the internet like who knew how to use it at work. I'm going to Japan Shoshankai. And I had these little QuickTime videos of like Mario walking and in 3D, and I was like, people were like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" I'm like, "That's Mario in 3D!" Like I couldn't believe it. So, and I've been using the internet too long, folks. All right, what time is it? Wow, we talked an hour. Anybody else have anything else you wanna throw in there? Anybody?
Amazing Arizona Comic Con is February 12th through the 14th. Me and Rob will be in Artist Alley. That's here in Arizona at the Phoenix Convention Center. We don't have a table number, but it's not. The Artist Alley is pretty easy to find us. Look for my double chin and Rob's amazing smile, as he's always a happy, chipper guy.
I'm always happy when we're at cons, and then I pass out from being happy. Too much happiness. It's all
Are
the
you,
time. Huh?
you're an introvert, right? Like an extroverted introvert, where you like to talk a lot, but
I
like
only
when you're
talk
out,
here. My
right?
family go, Rob, you never smile. I'm like, well, you don't watch the podcast, but because but I leave home, no.
Yeah. Like
So,
I'm kind of like that person where like I go somewhere and I'm like, hey, and then I come home just like I hated being there because everyone stole my energy, kind of like how some people like feed off other people's energy, kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm kind of like
that's what
I'm
Brandon does
I'm
when he calls to complain about his looks. Like,
I
I'm
don't know.
not interested. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bottom line, I'm introverted, so I mean
So, Ashley, where can we find you?
YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and I'm Gain Feather.
Hey,
Dang, on point tonight.
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Lead Heavy.
You can find them all about the face and neck on this podcast, sketchcraft.com. Sketchcraft Live. Whenever we record this, we go straight to Sketchcraft Live. You also go to Twitter at Sketchcraft. It's like Minecraft, but the word Sketchcraft. Not Sketchcraft, Sketchcraft. It's a whole different thing. So, as always, folks, Sketchcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience, fully supported by viewers like you. Please click the subscribe button below. Or at the very least, pass this around because I really need the views more than I need the subscribers.
Can we get some
So
Twitter retweets, please, people?
yeah, not be someone other than Brandon. Good job, Brandon. You're doing the yeoman's work. As always, we will be back soon. We got some more One Punch Man episode 2 coming up, right? We got recap coming up. We'll be doing that very
Yeah.
soon. And if you haven't seen already, go watch our first One Punch recap show.
It's probably our best show.
It's
I loved it. It
it's
was
gonna get
fun.
better. It's gonna get
Yeah.
better, folks. Like I'm really fine tuning. I'm gonna slow down a little bit how I talk so we can pick up some of it, and everyone's gonna share in the talk. But if you haven't seen One Punch Man, it's fucking awesome anime. Go watch it. All right, folks. Well, I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.